I like to think of the Bitcoin as sort of the groundwork of cryptocurrency. You have to, first digital cash system, kind of have to walk before you can fly. And then Ethereum, which is sort of where I joined in, kind of founding contributor and building the first smart contract stuff, as being the sort of water or ocean of cryptocurrency, building the possibility of doing tokenization, smart contracts, many of those things. And if you participated in either the first or the second wave, you probably got a 1000x plus return on what you did. Great. I like making money. Hopefully you do too. That's definitely one wonderful aspect of this whole system. And I believe right now we are on the verge of a third wave that is going to be as big, if not bigger, than the first two waves. And that third wave is the introduction of real assets into and being issued on blockchains. If you look at one major problem of blockchain systems, and it may seem ironic depending where you come from, but I would argue they're extremely small right now. Within the realm of financial worlds, 100 billion is not a large number. One of my business partners, Timo, who I encountered about a year ago, actually built a platform called Banker Bay, both as an investor and as a board member, that does $25 billion in deal flow per month. It's the largest private equity deal origination platform on the planet. And so when you start to think about those numbers and how you get from 100 billion plus to the trillions of dollars of stuff that exists in real estate and many other different asset classes, you have to start approaching it a little bit differently. It's no longer just a technical problem. And when I started this stuff in early 2014, like many other people in the space, I approached it first as a technical problem. I said, oh, well, we just build some technology, see what we can do to do some kind of tokens and assets, and then naturally we'll get all these good projects. And I think as people are looking around now with ICOs today, not everything's a great project. Not everything is going to still be around in a couple of years. And there are, however, a couple things that integrate, and I would say as someone who invested and participated in some of the most successful waves, including Ethereum and Dash, there are a couple things that indicate when you're going to get that really high return profile, something that's going to make a really successful project. One of them is obviously the team. And when I started this a couple years ago, I was someone who was really excited about Ethereum and cryptocurrency in general, but I didn't have the connections with the institutional finance world. And today, I'm happy to say that our team includes people who manage, multi-billion-dollar portfolios and build platforms that transfer billions of dollars of assets every month. So we've gone through that process of what does it take to take something through not just the 1 year, 2 year cycle to build technology, but the 5 year, 10 year cycle to actually get a fully functioning product at the door that sort of satisfies all the requirements at both the regulatory side and the technology side and the product and customer acquisition side. So that's something I think that is sorely lacking in this space is some sort of product mindset and the willingness to go through sometimes the longer process, sometimes a bit painful process, but one that gets you all the way through with a foundation that then people can build things on top of. And that's something I'm really excited about right now, is that we have some extraordinary partners, some of them in this room, that are doing amazing things on this platform already, even in a sort of pre-launch phase. We have distressed real estate assets. We're partnering particularly with people who are doing artificial intelligence-driven funds, where the actual identification of good deal opportunities is driven through AI and then componentized in a kind of structure, and several other partner funds that we haven't announced yet. So I just, one of the things that I think is going to really cascade and cause this whole system to grow, as well as thinking about it from the perspective of parameters that have caused other projects to go successfully. And one of the things that I've always been a huge fan of, if anyone has seen my name before, you probably heard me in this context, is decentralized governance. For those who were involved in Dash early on, you know that Dash embedded a sort of decentralized governance stuff at the very core of what they did, and that's allowed them to evolve dynamically and get an extraordinary market cap today. The same, just to a lesser degree, is maybe true about some sort of aspects of the Ethereum. And what we have done is embedded that idea at the very core of our platform and protocol. And again, it illustrates the sort of what we're doing, because it's the first time now that people who have blockchain tokens, which we're selling right now, it's available, you can participate, go to swarm.fund, and participate in this, what I consider to be a real revolution. Because each of those people who has a token then is going to be able to participate in electing the board members of the foundation through a liquid democracy system that's going live at the end of this week. So that's already kind of working. It's going through a testing phase right now. They'll also be able to choose the liquidity provisions of the actual token as it goes out on the public markets. And it will be the first time that you can actually take a token that previously just existed in a blockchain context, and it goes out and actually creates binding legal action in a real-world organization. And if you think about the implications of that, just think about it a little bit. When you have a blockchain organization, a DAO, something that lives in a blockchain context that then can go out and influence real-world assets, that opens up a whole immense category of things. It opens up the possibility of going out and acquiring islands and real estate and creating REITs and many different asset classes. It creates the possibility of taking companies, not just companies that are failing in the United States, which is sometimes a sad aspect of what's happening in the ICO stuff, but it actually takes the possibility of acquiring companies that are doing really well in the US but want more liquidity around their offerings, and then putting it on a secondary market. So when you look at the traditional asset classes and things like that do well in the traditional world, we have within our platform by January the possibility of listing and replicating much of that infrastructure. And I think that's why if you see any of our promotional material out there, one of the things we like to ask is what would happen if Main Street, what if ordinary people that, like you here today, could go out and own a piece of Wall Street. And not just a bank, not just the central bank, but a layer that actually is under every single one of those institutions. And if you think about it in that perspective, this really is revolutionary, because today the central bank, who controls that? Depends on what country you're in, but it's not usually a very transparent process. It's not usually a process that the citizens can influence. And we all know that there have been many problems of central banks not managing this currency supply particularly well. So this is adding that fundamental structural layer, the ability for individuals to control the evolution of those platforms. And that's why I'm so excited about it. And the reason why I'm convinced it's going to be extraordinarily successful is because we have other examples of that in the cryptocurrency world today that have done that internal to their system. And what we're just doing that is allowing the same principle to go out and go back into the real world and create that same type of dynamic involvement at every single layer. So that, in short, is what we're about at Swarm Fund. I encourage you to speak to any of our team members who are here, and yeah, we welcome you to join the third wave of the blockchain revolution.
Woo!
Enjoy.